Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. This is a traffic authority meeting for Thursday, August 17th. I'm LJ Fazaro, Police Chief of Town of Groton.
John Burt, Town Manager.
We're the traffic authority, the two of us. We usually also have some of Public Works joining us, but we're not able to make it today. But we'll go through the agenda. So both of us are here, so that's our roll call. And then the next item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes from our February meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the February 16th, 2023 special meeting.
I'll second it, and I'm in favor of it. That motion passes. Under public communications, we have some correspondence. The first is from Alan Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong contacted me via email regarding meeting with Officer Afifi. So Officer Afifi is in the front row here. Officer Afifi was assigned as a community policing officer. I've asked him to pay special attention to some of the parking problems, traffic problems we've had throughout the town, but specifically in Mystic recently. He wrote, I wanted to write on behalf of our neighborhood and Burroughs and Elm. Previously wrote you to subsequent to meeting Officer Afifi, we discussed problems with drivers ignoring stop signs, racing between them, and generally speeding. At events, there was parking by hydrants, corners, and blocking driveways. Last weekend during the Arts Festival, there was a huge improvement due to the work and presence of Groton Police. Parking was good as it gets due to the interaction by the police with drivers and the visibility. We wonder what else might be done in the future as during tree lightings, parades, etc. Emergency vehicles couldn't get down Burroughs or Elm due to both parking on both sides. Speeding between stop signs is like a drag strip always. Is it possible to park on one side at these times? What about speed slowing measures like speed bumps as there are in peak lot? These certainly slow down the traffic. We appreciate your efforts, Officer Afifi, and the other officers who spoke to this weekend were greatly appreciated. Sincerely, Alan Armstrong, 19 Elm. I did respond to that. Appreciate the efforts of Officer Afifi. I did clear up with him because it's often brought up to us about speed humps, and I pointed out to him in my response, any existing speed humps in the whole of Groton, to include Mystic, were installed many years ago. They are no longer being installed for a variety of reasons, but primarily because they do not comply with conventional standards of speed control. Myself and Town Manager Burt have received requests in the past elsewhere throughout the town, and we have not approved those. Again, there's a multitude of reasons for it. Snow plowing, road maintenance, the fact that studies show people speed up in between the two speed bumps, so it actually increases speed. So we've refrained from offering any of those. The next correspondence we received was from Sarah Obermeyer. She reached out to me and said he contacted the state DOT, but they referred her to the local traffic authority, which she believes is me. I live on the Groton side of Mystic at 686 Noank. We have a blind driveway where cars are regularly speeding up the hill and around the corner on Noank Road heading towards downtown direction. They have to slam on brakes when we're leaving our drive, and it's dangerous for us. I would like to see request lower speed limit signs for cars going up that hill in the blind driveway. My daughter nearly got hit, and she thanked us for this. I did respond to her, contacted her. Route 215 Noank Road is a state road. We don't, as a local traffic authority, have jurisdiction over that. That is a state road, Connecticut Department of Transportation. But I asked Officer Afifi to meet with her and see if there are things that we can do to help mitigate that as well. So we're looking into that. And the third correspondence I received was from Michael Valentino, and this is via Bruce Flax of the Mystic Chamber of Commerce. He asked for us to discuss this, but it was, I'll read it. Mr. Valentino, are you here today? Yes. No. Okay. This was back in June. Urgent, the quantity of restaurants and real estate square footage has grown exponentially over the past 4 years. On Water Street, specifically, the sidewalks between West Main and London Road have become police-sanctioned parking spaces. We all want our restaurants and merchants to succeed and prosper, but at cost of pedestrian safety hazards. I'll say it again, make pedestrian safety hazard more poignant. The sidewalks on Water Street have to become police-sanctioned parking spaces for tractor trailers, box trucks, high-cube vans, pickup trucks, and monster beer trucks. The trucks parked on sidewalks this main artery of pedestrian foot traffic, force of pedestrians on Butter Street and vehicular traffic. Traffic and pedestrians don't mix well. It's only a matter of time before our community faces the unthinkable. Our Connecticut state government has been serious about pedestrian safety. Why isn't the town of Groton serious about pedestrian and vehicular safety? Simple solution. The solution is simple. Water Street delivery trucks should make their deliveries before 8 a.m. and not park on Water Street. I did go out and look at that myself. And the town manager did as well. Any comments? Correspondence?
Not a lot of space. Yeah, there was one suggestion of the 3 or 4 spots by the rest area there of having that as a pull off. However, those larger trucks, once you drop that ramp, it's just way too long for that. Maybe you could have smaller vans there, but in terms of dropping off by 8 a.m., my understanding though is they do their best to get in and out early. Just their route, they have a whole route to do. They can't just go to one place immediately.
Yeah, some other areas in downtown Mystic, they can use gravel streets, but they can get off the roadway. I did talk to some of the delivery van drivers that told me they try to get in and out as fast as they can. Unfortunately, it's an old, it's Mystic, right? It was built more than many years ago. Those roads were not meant for what they have now. We're trying to be as accommodating as we can. We don't sanction people parking on the sidewalks necessarily, but they're trying to get their vehicles off and trying to do deliveries. So we're exploring the possibility of establishing potentially some loading zones that maybe are available at certain hours of the day. But we're at the behest of people that run businesses, but also people that institute deliveries throughout the day. So I know that that can be a problematic. That they're not just coming here to Mystic; they're coming all kinds of places. What's that? Yeah.
I mean, just because you're on this topic, yeah. Quick question. Well, you're saying that, yeah, Mystics is kind of accepted as what it is, but yet we still keep aggravating the problem by letting more restaurants come in, i.e. Milestone and now Denzel Oil, whatever the name of that. So more trucks. So I'm just wondering, do you just kind of throw your hands up, or is there something maybe hopefully behind the scenes that's being worked on where you're going to be able to convert all these trucks? Because my friend just told me to take a picture of Water Street because he nearly got hit. They were on both sides. You've seen it. Sure. And so the thought occurred to me, although down in the Municipal Art Association, down there where it winds around, the back of SIFT, that little section as you're coming out that veers off to the right. Is it possible to make that just a lane for trucks to pull in, just for trucks?
But behind SIFT, not on the road, but
right behind SIFT. So you actually go into the parking lot, you go around, and then you come back up, so you're faced ready to head out.
I believe that's private property.
Yeah, that's the issue. We don't have any authority over.
Well, yeah,
I believe that's
it is, but I'm just saying.
I know that it's
I
on
realize.
before.
But is there a way to perhaps purchase at the restaurants, purchase that property, or at least have it be a condition where new restaurants, you're going to keep having new restaurants, should there not be a pool of money for the restaurants, since they seem to be the one aggravating the problem? Really, if you want to back up, maybe it's zoning.
Can we get your name and address for the record, ma'am?
No.
No, I'm not trying to, you're welcome to speak, but usually that's what's required.
Donna Williston, and just as I'll finish introducing myself. So I have the Fine Line Gallery, Framers of the Lost Art. Been there for 38 years on the corner of Grove Street in Maine. Seen a lot of stuff happen, including streetscape, first word. And I'm also past president of the Chamber of Commerce. I was the capital campaign chairman for this park. So I got a little bit of street cred. But mainly, I have seen everything right there, which is why we kind of had hoped to. I brought along a resident and a fellow business person come and weigh in on what we see, because we're there every single day, and we see what's going on. And there's some simple improvements. We have just a very, very short and sweet presentation when the time comes. That we're not here to complain. We all do enough of that, but we're hoping to be constructive in our comments, and that you will think about that. But I just wanted to throw that in while we were talking about the trucks.
I think it's good to keep in mind on and off again. planning department and I have had discussions. We think if the art museum redid their lot, you could get some more spots in there. So we've talked about, if the town paid, if we take a certain number of spots of that, but it'd be a good idea to keep that in mind just to,
Yeah, just to get the trucks.
I will make a note of that. I think
Because
it's
you
worth
want to deal with congestion, right? You want to deal with safety and congestion, and that seems to be.
Who owns the spots next to the police spot in the bathroom that's on Water Street?
Mystic Art Association.
So that's not where, it's public parking, they don't have to pay for that parking?
That's right, but they own that, the Mystic Art Association. And what I was about, we certainly welcome input, and there's probably some good ideas that we haven't thought.
the part of the street of ours.
Yeah. On the street itself is the town.
Yes.
Okay,
So
so
it's four next to the restrooms there. I think it's four.
Yeah,
it's actually more than four, but
Is it more?
there's more than four,
Is there?
and that certainly could offer, the town owns those spots, pull off for trucks. Say no parking there till noon or whatever, it's not gonna impact the lunch crowd. Will allow for deliveries. So you have parking, you have an existing spot where trucks could pull off straight away. The way the parking is now, deliveries. My name is Gary Streimer, 44-year resident.
And you maybe have already asked this, but can the restaurant owners not somehow coordinate the delivery times? I know they can't put it to the hour, but do they not at least say, it's gotta be morning by 10, or it's gotta be?
The problem is these trucks do a wide range in
Yeah.
a lot of towns, and so if they do try their best. They don't want to drive down there when it's busy if they can help it.
Right.
What I would ask and share this with your friends and neighbors, we found out about things after the fact at the police department. And, I would love to tell you we have a police officer down there all the time. There is a police officer assigned to that area, but they respond to other calls for service, and I'll tell you where I'm getting at. I had gotten a call, and I think it may have gone through the town manager's office and ended up with me, but there was a bus, tourist bus that just parked on Water Street or Main Street. I think
It's Main
it
Street.
was Main Street. It was there for quite a bit, caused traffic congestion. Obviously the bridge went up at that time, so it was just a
Sort of
disaster.
blocked the crosswalk a little bit to it.
Yeah, created a problem. Had we known about that right away, I would have just reassigned a different patrol officer to address it. And we did find out about it afterwards. Officer Fifi was assigned to look into it. He did address it, but by that time, the bus had left. That was caused some significant traffic congestion for a limited amount of time, but I would just ask if there's ever problems in downtown Mystic, and I would say this because I know there's residents and business owners all here. If it's an emergency, obviously 911. If it's not an emergency, our routine number is 441-6713. Call here. We can send somebody to address it.
And we might have someone there already nearby that can jump
And can I just add, God bless that man right there. Yay, sure. Yeah, because, it's frustrating because there's not a lot of communication that goes back and forth. And we as merchants and residents, people expect us to know the answers. I can't tell you how many people come in on a daily basis. What's going on? What's going on with parking? And I must say, I don't take the day newspaper. I don't have time. I work 7 days a week. I don't have time to have all the information. But maybe through Bruce, it would be so great if he were to create. He's got all he has to do is that, to send out to all the chamber members to coordinate with the police, with the planning department. Let us know, at least communication is
in.
everything.
And Bruce and I meet about once every quarter or two, but we text and email quite a lot.
But he
too.
needs
Yeah.
to talk to us,
Yeah.
the members. And Sharif has just been so great because, oh my God, for the first time I had hope because he came out and he just, introduced himself. We all introduced ourselves and he just said, well, what's going on down here? Tell me about it. And it's like, all right, you got an hour. So anyway, took the time, very methodic. We weren't just venting. And already it's made a huge difference with what he's done there in that commercial zone, which I've got pictures of. Show you what a difference.
Well, incremental steps. I'm glad to hear that. That's why we put them there, and our staffing allowed us to do that.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. What about for the not? A lot of people I'm sure see a park and think, "Oh, I don't have to call 911 about that." Maybe have Bruce send to all the merchants the non-emergency number and get that spread out. That if you see an issue with roads being blocked or whatever else called this.
Absolutely.
Now, if you want, you can deputize us. On the street.
We're gonna avoid that. We're gonna avoid that. And while we're on that, you know, I would ask for your assistance because we've done studies internally. The police department has done them. We've used interns a number of years ago to look at the parking problem in Mystic. We've been, as you probably know, working with a consultant on parking solutions for Mystic. We haven't gotten to the, I think we know what some of the problems are that exist, but we haven't gotten to the final set of solutions that might be considered. But I would ask that you would help us to help you, particularly since those studies have all been pretty consistent in saying that there are individuals that work in downtown Mystic that are either patrons. They use some of the parking spaces that don't ever turn over during the course of the day. And that there are maybe some other solutions that might be more helpful. So we are gonna, I will tell you, you know, to be forewarned is forearmed. I directed Officer Fifi as well as our patrol people pay special attention to parking down there. It's a 2-hour limit, and we're going to enforce it. And, you know, we've already been writing a bunch. So obviously, don't want to give it to people in the room, but if you're in violation, it is what it is. Yes, sir.
Question on Brian Chen.
Hi.
Hi. Will parking enforcement be carried out by police officers, or will there be a person?
We have both. We have our police officers do it, you know, occasionally, you know, the officers that are assigned that area. If there's an acute problem that we get called about, we'll send officers down there right away. We also have some community service officers, which are non-sworn
The summer
people.
months.
Yeah. They've been doing that mostly. Combination of both.
Back to your first correspondence about speeding. Don't want to admit on being recorded that I speed. I can tell you that I get hit by my wife very often. And you had I see them in limited spots. There was one on Pequot Avenue, I'm sorry, High
You're
Street.
talking about the signs, the
Yeah, those
electronic
electronic
signs. Yep.
signs. I can tell you firsthand experience, those work. Hope that you would find resources to put them in more areas for a longer period of time.
You can thank the town manager because he included additional ones in our budget this year that were.
And my plan is to do it for a couple more years because we get requests for those.
They
all the
do,
time.
they
Mhm.
certainly work.
And then what we also do is some follow-up with a patrol, you know, staked out there to see how it's doing and.
And can I just say one thing, you never, not giving out tickets if they're beyond 2 hours. You know, they just, you know, people that have to go move their car now because they want to spend the day in this thing. It's just gonna be more congestion because now they gotta go move their car, now they gotta move it. Where are they gonna move it to? That's the whole problem. They got no place to move it to. So I worry that now you're gonna send out a very negative, you know, it's gonna be negative feedback. Like everybody hates getting tickets. So now you're handing them out left and right. So I just don't know if that's adequate.
We've got to do something. Unfortunately, there's some other solutions, some ideas that we've kind of floated that just haven't worked yet or haven't been. That's really the only mechanism that we have right now. We can't create more parking. It is what it is.
Well, one piece of it is a lot of employees park right there in those spots all day long. Whereas if they were out a little bit, people could get in and out a little more quickly and count on having some spots right in the main downtown.
Isn't that a zoning issue then?
No traffic story.
Well, zoning for restaurants to
Could they come up with some,
get their permit to have a restaurant needs to allocate for parking. And our zoning regulations in the town of Groton are prior to 1977 saying you need to have this many spots in the Mystic Art Association. But if those are all full, that's an issue. And so the town is giving permits to restaurants with no consideration of the unintended consequence. The merchants had the same amount of merchants in Mystic for over 40 years. What's changed is the restaurants. And the restaurants, and we want to thrive in community, but maybe the restaurants are, and it's unintended consequences. And I'm not here to say yay or nay to Airbnbs. all of those visitors that are at Airbnbs need a place to eat. So again, it's just this circle really falls. I don't know how much discussion the traffic authority has had with the zoning folks, the community members that are members of the zoning. I'll just leave it at that.
108 employees at the restaurants in downtown Mystic. Count them all up and all the shifts. That right there's the problem. It's obvious, I'm sure, to you, but it almost seems like if they're the ones reaping the benefits, which they are, more so than any merchant, then there is money, I guess, from the state that they give money back for a restaurant tax, I guess. So 2 questions, because I get this all the time, so if you can sort of address this. Where does that money go, the restaurant tax money? And could we not either up it or create a separate pool? Maybe that's better, create a separate pool for money that the restaurants need to kick into to help as a fellow business person downtown, help us all work together. You're creating the problem. I mean, yes, we all want to thrive, but they're the problem, let's face it. It is a problem. And so could they not shoulder much of the solution to this?
It really has to be done before the fact. It really very much is a planning zone.
Well, quit
Item.
giving permits. Why'd you give the permit to?
We don't.
We're asked to solve problems.
But you are the traffic authority, and there needs to be some I would argue there needs to be some integration between the traffic authority, some leadership from the traffic authority to zoning.
Well,
And
Well, and I can tell you, our planning director and staff have been very involved with all our efforts and do relate things to the planning and zoning.
It just, it's like a diffusion of responsibility. It's like everything, most departments and everything, and just a lot of talk and a lot of lip service. And it's like, it would just be so helpful if you could tell us. You mentioned that you're looking into some things.
yeah,
Let us know what you're looking into. Maybe the public, or the merchants, if we are on a communication, we can maybe help provide the solutions. Because you guys are overworked. I know it's not just about traffic problems in Mystic, but obviously there needs to be more attention because it's become a mental health issue.
we do appreciate that. We understand that. The police department's the enforcement arm, right? We're part of the executive branch. We don't make the laws. We
No, I
enforce the laws.
realize that.
This is a little, obviously, the regulatory authority that we have as a traffic.
Is that on you, John?
And I'm not passing the buck to him. Don't get me wrong there.
What I could see is us doing a letter requesting that they take these things into consideration before approving any permits. We'll have
You
some,
would think they would have already done that. Now it's almost too late.
That's
There's not even any places left.
And we've discussed this with, if you pay attention, I've been asked to go to the town council recently. We've talked about some of these things. And I think that the charge that we both have is to try and find some reasonable solutions that we can. And we've been asking for some of our elected officials, consider what they can do as well.
And let us know what you're doing. Give us some feedback.
I can tell you right now, before you came, we're looking at some potential parking solutions for downtown Mystic with a bunch of different entities, with enforcement strategies. We hired a consultant a couple of years ago in conjunction with the town of Stony to come up with some ideas that may be a better long-term plan for us. So we're taking those under advisement. Talking about those with some other officials in town.
now, when people come for renovation to PZC for expansions or renovations, the PZC could potentially create some requirements at that point. So that's something we could press to them.
Too little, too late.
And I do think, and maybe this is, we've seen an increase in the last couple of years, right? And I don't know whether it's post-pandemic related, but we saw this starting to trend in a different direction just in the last few years. I guess
Part of that is because of more restaurants.
and people have been going to Mystic. I like going to Mystic myself. I think it's a great place.
It's
A little
great.
hidden gem that's no longer hidden.
I think the promotion of Mystic, is also a factor because whoever does the promoting and the advertising, come to Mystic, is not taking into consideration the fact of congestion that's going to cause later on. That's a big issue with that too.
Well,
And the majority, there's a lot of, back in the day, you've been here, I've been here for almost 40 years as well, in Mystic, Florida, by the way, Richard Carrillo. But, you know, a lot of the employees lived in town. They lived in town and they worked in town. So now what happens is, you know, they can't even afford to live in town because the rents are just ridiculous. All the Airbnbs, Pearl Street used to be easy. You could count the cars going back and forth. I mean, now it's just ridiculous because, you know, it's just the Airbnbs, the trucks, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, the business, the restaurants. I agree with all of that stuff. But, you know, where the employees park, I don't know. And my employees are not allowed to park in the loading zone. I don't park in the loading zone. I try to do the best I can. Officer, again, Sharif, come to see me. This has been going on for years, this parking issue. This is not, you know, something new, right? But the enforcement has to be there. Like I was explaining to, you know, Officer Sharif, he was just giving me some, I moved my vehicle now because he told me about, you know, the cones that I had there. But I put the cones there because people were parking 3 inches from my bumper, not letting me out. You see? So there's a reason behind that. And whatever he wants me to do, I said, just tell me what you want to do, I'll comply. You know, but, you know, again, and I think that, you know, the enforcement, I know back in the day when Officer Fontaine and the other guys were there was a thing that they used to do is they used to go around and used to take a piece of chalk and they said, you know, mark the tire. I know.
Can't do that anymore.
Can't do that anymore. I don't understand why, because somebody got upset because there was chalk on the tire. I don't know. But the point was, you understand what I'm saying? They had a system of doing that. You know what I mean? There was somebody in Mystic, only in the summer times. And after, because right after September, October, it dies down. You know, there's not, I don't think there's that.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. We haven't heard from you.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to jump in, but Chad Frost, with Tech Frost as well. Our office is right downtown on 1 High Street. What I would suggest to the rest of the residents, if you haven't looked at the parking study that they hired a consultant who was a very, very good consultant that came in and analyzed all of the parking issues that's been Groton. I think it's a very well done study. It has a lot of very good recommendations that I think would work. One of which people kind of get upset about is parking meters. Enforce, right? Because that creates a turnover. So when you say people come to town and want to park on Main Street for 8 hours, that's the problem. We need those spaces to open up. Where if they're going to come and park for 8 hours, they need to park in the art association lot.
It's full.
Or it's not. I park there all the time, so it's not always full. But anyways, if you look at his count and seriously look at the study, because he counted all the parking spaces within a reasonable walk, and that goes out to High Street and up the hill a little bit. That doesn't encroach into too much residential area. And the totals, the way I read the study, my real quick summary, is there's enough parking there to support all of the activity, but everybody's trying to park in just that tiny little spot of downtown and not park in town. And especially when you have the people working there that park and take up those primary spots, it displaces everybody that's just trying to come in and pick up dinner or do something quick, right? And so what I would say is read that study, if you agree with it. If you do agree with it, where I think we're stalled, the way I interpret it, is the town council hasn't taken action to adopt that stuff, right? To start implementing the strategies that are in. And so I would say, as much as it is the traffic authorities kind of got their hands tied that they can't implement things at the town.
Well, with all due respect, so you've got the meters, right?
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen when people have to move their car? Where are they gonna go?
They should find a place where they can park for the length of time that they're going to be there. Right. So if they're going to be there for longer than 2 hours, you don't park in a 2 hour spot and then move your car in another 2 hours. That's not the point of a 2 hour spot. It's just hop your car. If you're going to park for longer than 2 hours,
Leo's lot's always full. Mystic Museum of Art is full.
it is quite often. But I always, I can park in our lot.
Have you read that before?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just think it's a very well done report. If you travel to other communities like ours, Newport and other coastal community towns that have a high tourist population in the summer, they all have a parking management system. They are charging for the most premium parking spaces. And we charge, the funny part is we charge for parking in the private lot and we give away the free best spaces,
So
so.
are you gonna be allowed to feed the meter though? You're just saying like, for example, what, you have to put money in coins, right?
Yeah. Always been out. Like, or saying, I don't wanna go down the whole road, but my point is, I would say, it's a good study. I would suggest reading it, and I would suggest taking it to the council as to how to start that process.
I think there'll be some tough stuff to think about though, so we'll have some further discussions.
And thank you for that point, and I'd be happy to discuss more of this after the meeting. I'll stick around as long as anybody wants and discuss any of these. Would it be okay to just get through, I know we have some folks with agenda items here, and I'm happy to stick around. Because I know it's, people are passionate about this issue, I know there's a lot to discuss.
And you said you had a presentation, if you wanted to send that to me sometime, just so we can just individually take a look.
Will I be allowed to do it here?
Well, let's take a look at it, we'll see if it's appropriate. And then it's easy to find my email address, but
All right, but you have to email me back, 'cause you did last time.
I usually do.
Did it after that March meeting?
We're gonna move on to old business.
Mhm.
Plus sometimes we have an officer do it, but yeah.
Do we have any old business? I don't see it on the agenda.
Greg did provide me some information about some old applications. I don't know if you want it now or later. On the agenda.
Yeah,
We'll come back to it.
under new business, I have, 23-643, request for approval for River Road Car Free Day event on September 17th, and I believe that you two gentlemen are here for that.
Actually, just this job.
Just this.
That's a coincidence.
Did you ride together?
No,
Unfortunately, I had no idea.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. My name is Brian Kent. President of the bicycle advocacy organization. We've proposed, we're calling it Car Free Day, just to give it a motto, but it's really just a 4-hour window on a Sunday to close through traffic. Not to close it to residents, not to close it to their friends and family, not to close it to people who want to put in their use at the bridge or even the fishermen. We were just asked that people defer to the bicyclists and pedestrians. Grandfathers pushing their grandchildren in strollers, as I've recently been described, and in order to to test our theory that this would be very acceptable, sent a letter and this flyer to every property owner on River Road and on the 20th Street. So residents received it. Yes, we got about 10%. Normal, and all but one were in support. So we've come to the LTA previously. We proposed it. Now we're here in a more formal capacity to ask you to approve it and or to tell us what else we have to do to get this approved, either for this date or for a later date if it's just not working out. And we understand that there would be 3 points of closure. Those would be staffed by police. So that on Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. is too over. So the question is that a financial burden that Groton needs to bear? And if so, tell us that is money to do that, and what are the other requirements? So do you have barriers? Do you have signage? Do you gate signage? Like that. We would certainly take care of publicity, but as far as the traffic control requirements, that's what
Yeah, those devices we all have in the department, or barriers, things of that nature, we do it quick. We can talk offline, we can figure out the mechanics of any cost. We would have to put people there just from a safety standpoint, the road that's often. But as far as granting approval, I know the town manager and I have discussed it. You and I discussed it over the phone. Exchanged some emails too, and I think that generally we're in favor of it.
Yeah, could you remind me the one person I was against it, was there any particular issue?
they just indicated that in general, bicyclists and pedestrians are nuisance. And that they find it, that there's already too many. That's the, I did send you PDF with all of the. That was the gist of their comment. Office of, there are running races. But our assertion is that that is one of the most safer roads in the region. Really should be allowing those members of our community to do that, have a safe place, even if it's only once in a while. Make it a safe place for people. You'll find that it really has fringe benefits for that sort of meet each other, neighbors, meet neighbors. It's just a great way to build friendship. I'm proud of that.
Now, originally the 17th was a rain date. Do you have another rain date in mind for the 17th?
No, but it would, we will have to do most of it.
I'll make a motion to approve the bike route and the River Road event for 17th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. subject to successfully work out details.
Hold on a second. Maybe we can talk afterwards.
Okay.
Next agenda item under new business is 23-647, which is review of the Groton Middle School athletic field lighting.
Right. Again, Chad Frost, with Kevin Frost, around who was here today. Bring this, so in general, if you're not familiar, I'm injuries, but in Groton Middle School, we've got the new softball field and the new synthetic turf field. They were installed with outlights. Town council approved funding to be able to put the lights on those fields a couple of years ago, and the school board's been doing the process. We were hired to help get it permitted. We received the zoning variance because the height variance of the size of the poles a few months ago, and then we received planning and zoning approval for it last week. Part of the planning and zoning approval was to come before you to make sure you didn't have any issues with the lights close to the intersection. Yeah, because I don't need to Photoshop you, maybe all that great. So the intersection, we're sitting over here at the police station. This is the church, the high school turnoff there. This is the high school property, and then the road down to the middle school. Synthetic turf practice field, baseball field, which is fairly close to the. Their concern was the 4 lights we have here at softball. All of the light cutoff goes to 0 from a photometric perspective at the property line. Good question. So there's light pollution, right? And so there's basically it's called foot candles, which is how bright is the light when it hits the ground. We're required for sports safety to get certain levels on the field, and then what we try to do is cut that light off as quickly as possible so you don't have light spreading off. What we're able to demonstrate here is this is quite a bit of light. So normally, if you're walking like in a parking lot, 1 foot candle is kind of what you need to see. For sports, we're up into the 50s and the 30s, depending on it. For softball, there's a requirement to be above 50 in field and 30s for the what I can say, so then the foot candles as we get to the edge of the property. So again, that's a little bit bigger. You can see the island and the turn down the rows. These are all zeros or 0.3. It's all below 0. So 0.3, which is effectively 0. At the property line, there are trees and shrubs along there. Where so the light itself, what you see hitting the ground, basically goes to 0. The property line definitely 0 by the time you get to the Musco is the lighting manufacturer. This is the intersection. Musco provides more information than is required by planning and zoning or building department. So this is a table of perceived amount of glare if you're on the highway. And that's not the light that's hitting the road. That's if you are looking up and looking into the fixture, how bright is that fixture in your eye? So it's a totally different scale. So the scales are actually from 0 up into the hundreds of thousands is really bright. We're up into the about 1,000 to 6,000, which is a third of a low beam of a headlight. That makes it for someone that gauges that. So, and that's if you were looking from out here, if you're driving down Route 1 and you look not down the road, but over to the field and look 70 feet up into the air to look at the light itself, that's how bright it would be if you're looking at it. So that's this diagram.
So none of these lights would, for any of the traffic traveling either, any of these roads would be directly into the driver's.
Correct. It would never be on the ground itself. You wouldn't be getting any light.
Well, you wouldn't be coming up an incline and get that light right in your face.
No, you'd have to look up and over to look towards a light, right? So that you basically have 4 lights here, where we have the highest amount of what's considered glare is actually right in here, which is kind of closest to that backfield. Where again, drivers, if they're going south, they're going down the hill, they'd have to be looking 90 degrees for the car. You're coming up the hill, same thing. Anybody coming around the corner where you hit this point, you're obviously looking the opposite way. And again, I would stress it's not light in your face like a headlight because it's 70 feet in the air. And if you were to do the glare counts for just a street light, it would exceed all of those numbers.
So what you're saying is none of these would be encumber any drivers or create any hazard for them on any of those roads.
Correct. And Musco, when they do this, and they did it voluntarily because they know the roadway, and it would have to be about 10 times this level before they would feel the need to do something to mitigate any of the glare.
So the only, I'm related to this, but the only time we have problems there is actually sunlight coming up
Yes.
Fort Hill Road.
Horrible.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had
A
accidents.
couple accidents
Yeah,
on that.
many accidents.
Who were from school and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was really just, they wanted to make sure you were aware that it was coming if you had to see before we did.
Are there any action we need to take?
Just to be safe, I'll make a motion to approve the middle school lights as presented.
Oh, second it.
Thank you.
And we'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, motion to suspend the rules to add in middle school, right?
Yep. So I'll second that motion to suspend it. We have another item we want to add to the agenda. And this is from, I've had correspondence with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And it's regards to some speed on Oral School Road.
There hadn't been speed signs posted on that road and neighbors asked for them to be put up. We kind of see this is town part, this is state part, so it's kind of divided for who's is who's. So we put up signage, I believe it's 20 miles per hour for our part. We asked the state to give us what their speed limit is and to put some signage up and then take it from there.
And I spoke to the Department of Transportation. I sent them correspondence asking if they would do that because as a local traffic authority, since it's a state road, we didn't have authority over that. After it went through various levels of the state, they came to the realization that the proprietor of that road, state agency, is the Mystic Oral School. And we all know that the Mystic Oral School.
State institution road, not like a regular state road.
Right. So I did receive correspondence back from them. From Brian Pothering of the Connecticut Department of Transportation, a transportation supervising engineer. He said, good morning, Chief Pizarro. From our phone call this morning, the Connecticut DOT does not own or maintain the state institutional road SI-71 in front of the former Mystic Oral School. The town of Groton can do either of the following regarding the installation of signs on SI-71. Contact the property owner, again, state of Connecticut Mystic Oral School, and have them install speed limit signs, or the town of Groton can install the speed limit signs themselves. Please let me know if you have anything else signed, Ryan. I would propose that the town, the traffic authority authorizes that, a continuation of what's already there, the same speed limit signs, and we ask the Department of Public Works handles the installation.
I second.
Favor?
Aye.
That, I believe, marks, do we have a list?
Just the one of the things, Greg, Mr. Hanover said, Oral School Road, DPW will install a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit sign at the north end of Oral School Road near Cal Hill Road by the end of next week.
Anything further, Jeannie? Did we miss anything?
No,
I know that there's folks that would like to, Sir, did you have something else for the traffic authority, or is it?
I did, the speed on Allen Street.
Did we speak? Or did we speak?
No.
No?
I mentioned it to you, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
spoke-
Jeannie, yes.
Okay, yes, I spoke earlier.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to add in an item to discuss speed at the speed limit on Allen Street.
I'll second it.
Great.
We're happy to hear from you, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right, so I moved to Mystic in 2006, so I believe that here for 17 years as a newbie. But 7 or 8 years ago, I went around to my neighbors on Allen Street, got a petition going, moved the blinking stoplight down up to Edgecombe Street, to get the cars to stop before they enter the heavily the street. And of course, we got into the fact that it's a state road. And that can't do anything. The only thing that happened was they did a speed study of the speed on the road and determined the median speed 40 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, half the car going 40. And I'm a person who has to back into my driveway.
And you're right on Allen Street? You're
No,
driving?
yeah, quarter of Allen World. And I noticed when that light fell down, it was an opportunity to maybe communicate with the state solutions. Nothing happened. They did a major project. They culverts, and all they did is make it smoother, wider, and the cars go faster. Newspaper article here, 2021, that the DOT is entering initial stages to talk about changing around the exit of 195 and 89. Accidents down there. And so what I would like to do is I would be willing to go around neighbors again. That area that are interested in doing some kind of permanent plan. Talk to the town, they say you have to talk to the state. Talk to the state, they say you have to. Traffic Commission in Groton to make a recommendation. Read a recommendation.
What would your recommendation be?
That, well, in my dream, it's a state highway from I-95 all the way down. And so they built a highway through a residential neighborhood. And at the time, the people were 73, I'm talking to my neighbors. People were up in arms because they started cutting down all the big, beautiful trees on the side of the road. People were laying down bulldozers, fans of the gas tanks, and so to kind of calm the people down, they agreed to put a stop sign, a blinking light, library down, and put up 25 mile an hour speed limit sign. And the 25 mile an hour speed limit sign do nothing. Cars come down. I don't want to say what I did, but the cars come down the highway and they don't even slow down.
How fast do you drive on that road, sir?
Yeah.
I try.
Just curious.
Often people will ask us to check speeds and then they get tickets.
I can speak, when you get done, I can speak to that later.
Okay. Yeah. And so,
Recommendation.
yes, I would just like to work with you and neighbors and, whatever you have to do to. what the solution to Allen Street would be, ready to think. I also have an article here from our hero David Collins about how they should change the signage of 95 to traffic to Div and the art center and all the pizza down rebate, which even though I'm not excited about more traffic, it makes a lot of sense. You shouldn't have people private exit 90 traffic there trying to cross the bridge to get to Div. So I think that happened.
I think it goes, in my opinion, goes along with some of the conversations we were having earlier.
Yes.
There's some ideas floated about viability of Allen Street. We do enforcement out there quite regularly. You may have read, and I thought you were going to read an article that we, press release we did a number of months ago where an individual, 100 miles down the street.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't read that, but I know you're there. The only thing is, you would have to be there. There'd have to be somebody there every day.
Yeah, and
To make, as soon as they go away.
and I think we've, Sharif, you may know this, I think we have one of the signs that you indicate. One of the,
You used to.
yeah, we've had to move around to different locations.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
one still there.
But what I,
electronic one?
It's one of those little,
Yeah.
Yes,
square-
there is.
Tells you speed?
yeah,
I think that's good,
There
that
is one
works.
there, and it tends to have people slow down.
It does, yeah.
I've been there myself, sure, so it tends to slow people down,
It
but
does.
sometimes they'll coming quite fast. By the time they slow down there, it's still got them above the 25. And then,
Yeah.
to your point, so they're going to the heavily residential area,
right,
right with the stop sign.
right. And that's the other thing too, is you almost need to have a visual barrier. There's a rectangular sign, maybe 3 or 4 feet long, and it says that traffic is gonna have to slow down from 40 to 25, but kind of darkened and you can't really read it, so it's not visibly striking. Big with blinking lights. I mean, I'd like it to say State Highway ends at the spot where the speed turns. And like they have at the end of the highway, on a residential street, there's flashing lights and cones and all kinds of markers to slow people down. Visual impression on people. Because if you see a sign that says 25 miles an hour, you go, okay, I'll go 25 when the street narrows or something.
I don't think the state will give up the desert. It's still a state highway though through there, but maybe have public
Yeah,
works
so I
engineers.
was trying to solve the problem here.
Well, we could ask public works director, have his engineers take a look at it, make suggestions to us to make suggestions to the state.
Ironically, I had a conversation recently with our friends at DOT about that very road. And it was, and I don't have, just checking my notes, I don't have them in this notebook, but I had been asked about the light specifically that you're referencing that came down. And I don't recall whether it came down as a result of an accident, or I believe it was, state was doing maintenance and somehow they knocked it down. It is their intention to put that light back up. It's on their list of things to do. It is not in the immediate future, meaning it's not gonna happen in the next 6 months. The state takes a long time to get to certain things, but I did communicate with them, and I indicated that there was an interest. And even just last week, I spoke with one of your neighbors who had called concerned about the new paving on Allen Street. I went out there and looked at myself because it was reported to me by this citizen that that now there was a passing zone. There was never a passing zone before, and I had to get a good handle on what she was referring to. I went out and looked. There is a passing zone on Allen Street, and it was there before the repaving. We have GIS data that I was able to get from the Public Works Department to take a look at that. So I did communicate with her, hey, that maybe just because it's new, fresh paint and everything, people notice it now more than they did before, but it did exist. But that light should be going back up on the Department of Transportation's dime and on their time frame. So I don't know when that will be, but I don't anticipate it being within the next year. But I have had similar conversations with my colleagues there to say, hey, can you point the stuff to your traffic engineers and they take a look at it. But I know there's other things at play here too. Like you had said, there was a pitch, I want to say back in 2016. I hadn't been chief here that long when that happened, about routing traffic through Allen Street to Mystic, and as I recall, and I remember a meeting down at the Town Hall Annex when this was discussed, there was staunch opposition from some of the residents to allow that to happen. Were you there?
I
Do you
was
remember?
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because,
Um,
yeah, people were told that there would never be.
Now, I
Obviously,
think
they
you-
need one Allen Street to be there, because they have beautiful, dead neighbors. The other thing that happened 7 or 8 years ago when I was talking to the DOT, I talked about having the freeway stop at Edgecombe Street Road, where the traffic gets, where the settled. And they said they can't do that because you have to put an all-way stop on an intersection at upper road, loads of traffic in both directions. And that is certainly not the case. There's way kind of violating their own.
What I can say, and I've learned this in this capacity, at least you talking with DOT, usually, you know, we get complaints about some other areas of town. One of the places I get a lot of complaints about is right out here, the intersection with Route 1. These are both state highways, by the way. Groton Long Point Road is a state highway. You know, Fort Hill Road and London Road, that's a state highway, it's Route 1. And we'll have discussions with them. They will send out their traffic engineers, and these are individuals that, you know, really know what they're talking about. And they do talk about the things that you're mentioning. There are certain regulations they have to adhere to by federal law. You know, the manual for uniform traffic control devices is one of them. They adhere to all that stuff. They are very knowledgeable, and I hate to say, you know, I'm just a dumb cop. I was a political science major to avoid all that hard math of engineering. So those guys didn't. They know what they're talking about, but there's a lot of rules that they do have to adhere to. And sometimes it seems so intuitive to us what should be done. And then when you talk to them and they kind of give you the analysis of why certain actions are or not taken, then you kind of, it
Right, you
kind of,
understand.
yeah, brightens it for you. So
It might be worth having
Yeah.
Greg Hanover take a look, maybe watch this part of the video to see the discussion, see if had any
yeah, I'm fine with
suggestions.
that. Yeah. I don't know if that helps in the short term, but at least we can
Okay, so
maybe.
what was-
So,
I'm just trying to give you a bureaucratic answer. That's all.
usually our,
I got that 7 or 8 years ago, so I gave up.
usually our public works director attends these, he's out of town today, but he's an engineer. And usually can weigh in on some of these discussions as they happen, because he'll know the rules often off the top of his head, but we'll ask him to watch this part of the what's the episode? The show, the
Oh,
meeting.
so we can watch it.
Yeah, we're recording it right
Yeah,
now.
we're recording it, yeah, and then he can watch it later and then see if he has any suggestions to the state. Now's the time to do it while they're planning things.
Can I hear what he suggests too?
Sure. Yeah, well, what we usually would do is, he does attend most of these, usually he would come back and then report at the next meeting.
And if you'll give Jeannie your contact information, we can follow up.
Okay.
And that's
Great.
Jeannie.
Did you
Yes.
sign up?
I did.
We'll follow up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If my agenda.
We're really,
Is there any other items?
no,
Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second. Okay.
Third.
Motion adjourned. I know that there's some guys that wanted to discuss some things, happy to stick around afterwards, and Officer Fifi's here too. And I'm sorry, I should have had you introduce yourself to everybody, but I think most of the folks will be here. But please stick around and you might have something to talk about. And with that, I'm gonna end the. Yep, ends at 2:31.